Hey Growtopians, this is Mike from Growtopia. And yes, we are doing a Tiny Tim's video. It is August 9th at 8 in the afternoon. Or night. But I have some really amazing news for you. So, other than working on the nursery, I saw something on the Tiny Tim's that I want to actually throw in everybody's faces right now. And it excites me because a lot of our crops that we started this way was started exactly the same way. So right now it is day 9 before day 10 of the germination period of the Tiny Tims. So let's jump into the nursery. Oh yeah, and I got bored because I do. So I went to Home Depot and I grabbed a bunch of shells, and the shells are in there now, and I've been rewiring things like Tim Allen. So let's jump in the nursery. Oh, so it's dark in here, right? So we're just gonna flip the switch. Obviously. Now we're back to Mike shirtless. Anyway, so we got another shelf, another shelf, another shelf, another shelf. This shelf here, if you guys actually really want to have a cool sensation right now, this is the best thing for you to actually realize. So 1, 2, and 3 I bought from Home Depot. About $70 each, like $200 and change. More than I want to put into this budget. But those 3 shelves that I bought built this 3-stacker by itself, because I'm only going 4 shelves high because I like the height of it from the original one. So I wanted to do the same thing throughout. And what worked out great was here I could put my fertilizer, I could put my pods, I could put my miscellaneous crap, I could put more miscellaneous crap. I got my tomato clips. I got 600 fucking tomato clips in these 2 boxes. That's not part of the video, but honestly, it is the best thing. So if you are kind of like trying to figure out if you want to do like a 4-stack shelf and you get 3 of them, you can make a 3-stack shelf and just make it as your miscellaneous crap shelf. That's what it is. But that's not the reason for the video. I'm so excited right now. You have no idea why I'm excited right now. Because, for starters, after yesterday's video, okay, it was about 6:40 in the afternoon. I had to re-watch my video on YouTube. I couldn't find the time on the microwave behind me. I had to go back to my phone where it was more zoomed in, and I saw 6:41 when I was talking about the Tiny Tims. It's about 8:45, August 9th, 2024. Okay? From the end of that video, I put everybody under the humidity domes. So the humidity domes that I'm running, like I've said before, are these guys. I got to dry them out, but I threw them over here for now. But they got multiple vents, and I threw them on the heating mats. I threw them on the heating mats because I like to sometimes go back to the way that I was doing things. So, I watch a lot of people. There's a guy I watch who's from San Diego. I love a lot of his information. There's one guy from North Carolina. I like his stuff, but a lot of times he goes a little off kilter. I do too, but he goes like more off kilter. And then I watch James. And James has a lot of good information. Now, even though it's August, and we shouldn't be growing stuff indoors except for certain items, and we shouldn't be running heat mats because it's hot and humid, especially now that I shut the door. But I figured, why don't I go back to my old basics? When I first started actually getting into growing more than I ever have done, and I learned from somebody who had the lights and the heat mats, I said, well, let me do the lights and the heat mats. And then there was a guy who showed something about humidity domes that had vents on them. And the vents are great because the biggest problem with anything you buy that's like a Jiffy from Home Depot, there's no domes on, there's no vents on top. And everything kind of gets full of moisture, and then it turns into shit eventually. It gets root rot. Or it just doesn't do shit at all, is what I used to call it. And it took a while for anything to germinate or do anything. So now with these, I can control the temperature, and I just kind of play with it. You know, sometimes I'll open one, open the other. I've not figured out the science, so don't quote me on anything, but sometimes I'll start off like, I'll put the dome on top, and I'll have one closed, the other one open for 24 hours, And then when I get home from work, I'll open the other one. And so they're both open, like I did today. And that was about... I did it yesterday, a little after 6. After the video, I think it was about probably almost 7, 8 o'clock. So we're looking at a good time under the dome. Now, with that being said, being that we were we put everybody under the dome, all the water, all the liquid fertilizer that we showed. The reason for this video is because I really want to show you guys something really cool. I'm like so excited. I keep looking down at them. And it's like I'm hating that I'm trying to explain stuff. But nevertheless, let's get straight to the point. So remember how I said in yesterday's video that the okra would probably be like 8 feet tall or whatever the hell it was? Well, it's not 8 feet tall, but the okra is actually growing. So let's jump down to the okra. So I'm going to grab a pod. Here's the okra. Look at this guy. I mean, we planted it yesterday. Yes. JP's fertilizer, and also it was under the humidity dome, and it's on a heat mat. So the heat mat for this one right now, as you can see the power, and it shows that it's heating. If I was to actually click on here, it shows that it's going up to 88 degrees. And we're at 87.8. So it's getting there. And I just took the humidity domes off a couple minutes ago. Probably about 5-6 minutes ago, because I've been working in here and I just wanted to see what was growing on in here. I get a little curious. Sometimes I do this in the middle of the night. I just sneak in here and I just do it. But we got one even better than that. So we have the mater to mater. Now remember, everybody was domed. Dome, 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 dome. Now this is under a full heat mat. This is off to the side because those are the spinach, so I don't want to overheat the spinach. And the spinach seeds, even though I said I was going to put them back in the fridge, I threw them back in the freezer because I figured, well, I mean, it'd be kind of cool having spinach growing in my refrigerator, but let's freeze them and see what happens next year. And the last time I tried, so James and a few others had said soak your beet seeds for like 24 or 8 hours or whatever it was, and they're going to germinate quicker. Well, they didn't really do shit in the time period, and because these guys at 729 that were straight out of the bag into the pods grew faster than the ones I put in the ground. Because the ones in the ground are like daily coming out of the ground, and they were soaked, and these guys aren't soaked, so yeah. And I got fans coming. I know people want to know that. We got fans coming, obviously. I keep saying that because everybody needs fans. It's hot in here. But anyway, let's really actually get to the real crucial point of this video. And it is, we have the mater has started something here. We got JP, got a little bit more growth. We got Joby's over here. Nothing on here, but look, no fertilizer. No fertilizer. No flying fucking flip of fertilizer. Now, everything I grew out in my garden, from the zucchini, the cucumbers, and the tomatoes on the right side, were from non-fertilizer. And they had the heat mat and the dome on top. And yesterday, there was not a fucking thing going in there. And then when I took the dome off, I looked at it and I said, oh my God, I got to film a video. Because it, like, blew my mind. It's the simplest, stupidest thing. Will amplify your growth. Even look, the broccoli. If you look at yesterday's video on the broccoli, because nothing has moved. I put all the trays back. If you look at this broccoli, when the dome was on top, it's this high. Before it was a little bit lower. I went back and rewatched yesterday's video just to see where the height of everybody was, to see what happened. Now the dome is great because, for starters, it keeps the moisture in. And it keeps the temperature at the right. The reason why I took it off now was because a lot of them are really moist. And they got to dry out just a little bit. So a lot of times it's a lot of play with the dome tops. So when a lot of people ask everybody, and I've asked this myself, like when you put them on, when you take them off, because you want to know that crucial point. Basically, the soil test. This is the biggest soil test. So we're going to have it over here. I'm going to stick my finger in the soil. I'm going to wiggle my finger. Now, of course, I'm wiggling in an area where things are growing. See how my finger is dirty? I got a dirty finger. You know what that means? It's moist. It's moist. It's wet. Even with these, you can even take the bag out, and you could just look at the bottom of it. Now, these bags, my lighting would cooperate. If I stick my finger in the bottom of the bag, I know that sounds kind of really interesting right now, and I pull it out, my finger is brown. Not a lot, but it's brown. My finger's wet. It's wet to the touch. That means that the bottom of the bag is wet from top to bottom. So if it's an item or a crop that needs to be a little dry, a little wet, in August 9th, where it's humid, of course we got a weird tropical storm, and this room gets humid even with the door open. It's not something you want to really be putting into. So basically, the best thing to say to everybody out there in the world that are watching this is, if you are trying to figure out and fine-tune anything that you are doing, it is basically finger and error. Okay, you got to finger your shit, try to see what the color is, try to see how wet it is. As soon as you touch it, put your hands. That's why I love the bags. I love the bags versus actually putting soil inside these pods. The reason why is because I literally can pull this shit out. Like, here's a bok choy, right? Simple. I just grab the edge of the bag, and I can pull it out, and I can drop it, and I can grab it, and there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I got a little stringy. There's nothing wrong with it, because the bag is what protects it. Now, if I hold the bag in my hand, I can feel how wet the bottom is. And that is a wet ass bottom plant. It's wet. It's wet on the bottom. Yes, that's probably not the best thing to do on video, but it's wet. I got some soil down here from a dropping. It slid out of my hand. But look at the soil that fell out of it. It's all for learning. All this is learning. See how wet that is? It's wet. So what that means is that there is no reason why I should add more water to it. So with that being said, everybody, I would say don't drop your bags on the floor, because then you got to clean up the mud and everything under the sun. And the plant's going to be fine because, well, for starters, it's bok choy, and it got bok choy to the ground. Man, it's freaking hot in here. I'm looking at one of the temperature gauges. Even look at this. The dragon tongue beet plant, right? So we got dragon bean and beet over here. We got another one over here. A beet. The beets are starting to get a little wiltery. I believe that's because they've been here for too long. So one thing I did notice is that when I put the beets and the beets under the humidity dome, they all went. When I put the bok choys and everybody else, they kind of like hanged out fine. The tomatoes, they did way better. The spinach seeds, we have absolutely zero activity, and the corn and the eggplant, nothing yet. But they do still have the thermometer that's running down into the gauge, making sure that everybody stays warm. This one, the power's on, temperature's great. This one, the power's on and temperature is currently heating. So it's a trial and error play, and you guys just watch me just drop something and pick it back up again. But that's the best part about it being in a bag, because that's not the first time. I actually have had to the point where I had a tray full of shit, and I was transplanting it, and I went back in the house, went to the bathroom, came back outside, and there was a fucking tomato plant sitting outside. And now this tomato plant is massive, and it's a large cherry tomato plant that I'm worried about tonight, because he survived me dropping him. Or her. Doesn't really matter. Plants work their own way out. And that bag has a lot of good stuff in it, especially the fertilizer, the nutrients. It's peat moss. It's a great starter. And I've done all my stuff in peat moss and had great results. So what am I trying to get to today before I run out of brain cells is basically, if you're fucking around with your tomatoes, if I was to start the Tiny Tims, now that I have this massive room, if I was to start the Tiny Tims again, put 5 of them, because they are determinate tomatoes, they only grow to a certain height, I might be able to get away with that. The only thing is I would put them under heat mats, heat lamps, and let's see what happens. Let's see if we do that. So this is a Tiny Tim and also Growtopia's nursery update. And yeah, so it's still hot in here. There's no doubt about it. It's hot, it's humid, it's wild. And with the fans on everything, we'll get the nice airflow. And playing music works great. The plants love it. I think they do. I do. So who knows. Anyway, guys, like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Don't drop your shit like I did. Even though it's still going to grow, trust me, don't worry, they do. I've done that with corn, too. I've done that with fucking tomato plants, corns, and cucumbers and stuff. Sometimes you grab those bags. But grabbing that bag, and the reason why I slid out, because it was wet and it was moist, so it was slippery, that makes me realize that that's too much water for that plant. So I might have to let it sit a little longer. In the early seasons, January, February, March, April, May, June, everything is kind of like it stays wet and then it dries out. Now, because it's so humid, everything stays wet. I threw the humidity dome on top just for shits and giggles, and the non-fertilized tomato just said, "Hey, I'm here. I'm alive. All right." Turned into Beetlejuice. So, makes me want to do the experiment again, but with a dome. See who starts over faster with the dome on. So, before I go down that range of more stuff, that's going to be it for tonight. So, like, subscribe, like I said before, share it with your friends and family, comment below. Tell me anything. I don't even care what you say. I'll still comment to everybody. I love it, man. It's great. I don't want to get out of here. I gotta go outside. Make sure everybody's still alive. Actually, I had to fix the tomato plant before the wind actually blew these little fuckers out. The strings out. So, like the strings with the hooks on it, this string spool actually fell out. And I was outside and I saw a tomato plant like this. And I was like, oh my god, SOS, we gotta go outside and save our shit. So it was that, and then fixing it and tightening it, take all the tomato clips off, and then redo it. And actually, ironically, because a lot of people say you can't reuse your tomato clips, you can. You just gotta be really careful with them. You know, once they're pushed into each other, just gotta take them off very carefully. And I did that multiple times. So I bought a lot of tomato clips in case of it, but I've yet to throw one away. I just reuse them. I reuse them. I reuse them. So anyway, guys, like I said, that's it for today's video. Hopefully the last one. Everybody have a great Friday. And I'm about to go check on things outside. Later.